And as you can see, it's a very tight formation. I don't know what the fuck that guy was doing. God, I hate these group rides. So I finally get to ride the Lowrider ST for the first time. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I do not like group rides, especially something like this, because I don't get to actually test the actual bike. But because the Lowrider S, which is back there, as soon as it hits the shop floor, it gets sold and I don't get a chance to actually do a review on it. So this is the only time I'm actually able to go out and have an impression of the bike itself. So this is the only time I think I'm be able to actually ride the ST, unless I end up buying one, and we'll see how that goes. So right off the bat, as I get on to the ST here, I can automatically notice that it is a lot wider between my legs than the other Softails, which is quite interesting.
All right, we're going to do ride 6 in a minute here. If you are a ride 6 person, please stand. Get on your bike.
I think we're getting ourselves going, as we are always rushed in these things. But let's see how that goes. The obvious big change between the Lowrider S and the Lowrider ST is obviously you get this giant fairing where you can put a stereo equipment on. And here we go. It actually runs pretty smooth, as expected. I do enjoy the controls of the Lowrider ST because it's very familiar to my Iron 883. Now, this bike does feel a bit heavier considering it's a 720-pound bike. Man, that's heavy. But given that it has just over 1900 cc displacement of an engine, I'd say about having 720 pounds shouldn't be an issue, because I can tell you right now, the acceleration of this bike is definitely there. Now, let's quickly get on the highway. Watch out for the gravel. Oh man, this thing pulls. Yes. Oh man, are we gonna go at this speed? Damn it. Really wish I was able to go a little faster here. But yeah, so far the ergonomics of this bike is quite comfortable, and these bat wing fairings that's in front of me is blocking out all the wind around my chest, but I'm still getting it on my head. For this test ride, it's hard for me to gauge the actual full power of the Lowrider ST, and it's 117 cubic inches of engine, which has about 125 foot-pounds of torque and I think 105 base horsepower, which is really good for a cruiser spec. And given the fact it has upgraded rear and front shocks compared to the other bikes, I would say that this bike has a really good lean angle. Not able to push the bike around as easily as my Iron 883 because, like I said, it's a very heavy bike. It's a 720-pound bike, which is 50 pounds heavier than the regular Lowrider S. And I believe that's thanks to the hardback that comes in the back and this batwing fairing where you could potentially put a stereo system in front for extra cost. Now this is a fairly tight formation, so I'm not going to be able to weave left and right and really test out the nimbleness of this bike. But yeah, it definitely feels like a big bike, but it has the right size engine in it so that it makes me feel like I'm not going to be slow on the road. The bike is really well balanced, and as I mentioned before, it is a bit thicker in between my legs. It does have a 5-gallon gas tank, which is the largest gas tank you can get for a Harley-Davidson as stock bike. And given its fuel consumption or fuel economy at close to 48 miles per gallon, I think, you're going to be able to use this motorcycle as a cruiser touring bike if you wanted to, before jumping onto a road glide or a street glide. And I think that's kind of what Harley-Davidson was going after, who likes the look of a Lowrider S, but don't want to move up to a road glide or a street glide. And they said, why not just put on the effects that a sport glide used to have onto the Lowrider S with an upgraded engine? And that's exactly what they came out with. The only thing I don't like about this right now is the design of the speedometer. I think they could have gone out by putting in the regular Lowrider S's digital speedometer onto this ST, which is an upgraded version. I don't know why they decided to downgrade the gauge on an upgraded bike. So that part kind of confuses me. And as you can see, it's a very tight formation. I don't know what the fuck that guy was doing. God, I hate these group rides. Now we're gonna exit the highway and then get back on the highway on the other side. The impressive part about the Lowrider S series is the front brakes. It's got dual disc 4-piston caliper front brakes, and they bite on really well, which I think all the softail models, including the Sportster S, should have came with this type of braking system. But I guess Harley-Davidson saves it for the premium bikes, just like the Lowrider ST. Now the front and the rear shocks, they are preload adjustable. However, unlike the Fat Bob, where you can adjust it by turning the knobs at the side of your seat, you actually have to lift up the seat of this bike to access the preload of the preload knob of this softail.
Fuck! Remember your pressure points.
Yeah. Yeah, I must say, like, the acceleration of this bike is pretty decent. And having 6 speeds should be the norm for every single Harley-Davidson or motorcycles out there that is highway friendly. Now, is this bike better than the Fat Bob? Because that is something that I've been always looking forward to. Like, if I was to upgrade my Sportster, what softail would I go towards? And so far, my favorite in the softail lineup has been the Fat Bob, just because of the boldness of its looks and as well as its performance. But given that a lot of motovloggers and other people that I follow upgrade their Sportster to the Lowrider S, I was always curious about how this fares against the Fat Bob. And so far, I would say in terms of comfort, I think the Fat Bob, for me, as a rider who's 5'10" and 30 inches of inseam, I'd say the Fat Bob was a bit more comfortable, especially on the lower extremities, because I feel a little squished with this 90-degree bend. And I know I have a 90-degree bend on my Iron 883, and I'd say that's comfortable, but for some reason, because my legs are a little further out due to the wide fuel tank, it is making it feel a little bit more cramped up, especially when I'm comparing it to the Fat Bob. In terms of performance, I would almost say that there is almost no difference between 114 cubic inches to 117. I think it's just playing with specs and stats for some people, but in all honesty, I don't think there is much of a difference in terms of a rider's feel. Maybe it's a little bit different if I'm on the open road, that I have the ability to just open the throttle. But it's not a bad bike. It's definitely worthy of the price tag and the popularity of this bike. The other small thing that they changed up was the fuel tank design. They no longer have the phantom cap, which used to be on the left, but now you only have it on the right side, so it's a little bit less awkward, I guess. I must say though, the bat wing fairing that's here does block a significant amount of wind towards my body, so I am less tired when I'm going over 100 kilometers per hour, when I don't have to fight all that wind. Only place that I can feel the wind is like on my head. But yeah, I gotta ask the dealership to see if these batwing fairings and the bags are available for purchasing for a regular Lowrider S, and I can't see why they wouldn't allow that. Probably costs double though, compared to if you just bought the ST version. But yeah, it's got a really good low-end torques on the first 2 gears, just like the way you would expect from a Harley-Davidson Cruiser. I do kind of wish it had forward controls though. But it might be a little tough with this upgraded air cleaner in the way, because it's actually touching my shin, so having forward control might be an odd mod for this bike. But here we are, back to the Barnes Harley-Davidson dealership. Slow maneuvers are slightly more challenging, I would say, because the bike does feel a little heavy. But so far, not a bad test ride, I would say. Let's put it on neutral. Is it hard to find? Nope. Softails always have a weird kickstand that makes me a little worrisome. I would say if you are in the market for a softail that has a bit more of a touring option as a stock bike, check out the Lowrider ST. With that said, ride safe, ride prepared, ride on. Peace.